Hello again, and thank you for joining me for another episode of the Noble Father podcast. Today is July the 21st of 2025, and excited to have you with me on this journey again. I know that I haven't been posting as frequently as I used to, and I've had to deal with some stuff recently that just took me away from being present, and today is a special podcast episode. Yesterday my son turned 10 years of age, and so for myself that's a big deal, right? That means I've been a father for 10 years. Obviously 10 years plus 9 months, whatever you want to say. I always tell dads that whenever wife is expecting, then you're technically a father already, right? So a lot of thoughts, right? A lot of things to get off your chest, right? A lot of things to be grateful for, and I look at when I think back on what it meant to be a father for myself. I was very excited about the journey. I knew I wanted to be one, right? If you listen to the very first episode, you'd hear that I'd talk about wanting to be a present father growing up, and it was a childhood dream of mine to be one. And so, my wife and I, when we got together, it was I knew I wanted to be a dad fairly quickly. There's no thought in my mind about wanting to vacation more, or wanting to hit a certain career goal first, or wanting to hit some kind of monetary goal, or there was nothing that superseded that desire and goal to want to be a father. And so, and with that came a lot of consequence. You have suddenly, in saying yes to being a father right away, you say no to a lot of things. Like I just said, career development, even in the marriage, right? In the relationship, we went to having kids really quickly, and what happens out of that, right? That's a I don't call it a curse, but that's you've said yes to this, inviting this issue into your life. It's funny because when I look back on the pictures, I think about, oh man, you tell yourself that you're going to be a great father, and then you do all the planning and all the things, and then when the time comes, you realize how naive you are, right? You realize, like, wow, this is harder than it looks, right? You think you're ready for everything or anything that comes your way, and you just quickly are humbled. You learn how quickly you are not ready for this. Case in point, everybody likes to, not everybody likes to, I mean, most couples go through kind of a nesting phase where they are thinking about, like, what do we need to prepare? What do we need to get ready? This baby is on the way. We need to be ready, and we need to prepare. What do we need to prepare? And so we took like birthing classes, because at the time my wife and I were living in China, in Chengdu, and she's, where is he going to sleep? What are we going to wash him in? What clothes is he going to wear? Which diapers are we going to use? We're going to breastfeed him, right? Are we going to use formula? No. Are we going to, everything? Like, do we need to get an air purifier? Like, it was just nonstop, the amount of stuff that you had to, new questions that you had to go and answer. But then you also get to this place of like, wow, you're really not ready, and And like, you know, when it came time to deliver the baby, right, we had a birthing plan. We were all set. We were like, oh, you imagine it a certain way, and it's going to be this way, and it's going to be perfect this way. And we want a natural birth. We're not going to use an epidural because we don't want to subject the mother to drugs and the baby to drugs. And, you know, we learned that the baby also works to come out, and the mother's working to get the baby out as well. Like, it's not just the mother, the baby does the thing too. And like, and then as soon as, we went to the hospital and we had a doctor that we wanted to deliver the baby, but it was midnight, so he's not on shift. Everything we had in terms of a birthing plan or whatever just went out the window. It was just not existent. So like things like, we wanted to pass the placenta naturally, got yanked out, right? She pulls it out. Wanted a natural birth, but there was an episiotomy, so they cut her. And like, and really in that moment, you're just like, not that you don't care, but you just want the baby to come out. You just want this, it's not that you want it to be over, but you want it to be over. Like I didn't enjoy seeing my wife in agony and in pain through labor. And for myself, if you've probably heard me tell this story before, I had to pay to be in my own show. I had to pay to be inside the delivery room with my wife. And, when I got in there, man, it was just like a cold, hard table and she's on it. Like, not a cold, hard table, but it was scary how inhuman it was, I guess. I was just not ready, just think about it. I'm a Canadian, and everything that I imagined childbirth, thinking, first world technology and comfort and, taking care of the mother and, whatever her wishes are, they would be met. My very first time was not that. It was not it. And so, baby comes and, right, you think that this baby's going to be perfect. There's going to be nothing wrong with this baby. But that's just not the case, right? There's just so many things along the way that kind of meets you. Jaundice, or eczema on the face and in the body. And like endless twists and turns of things that are going on that you're just kind of like, you're left kind of scrambling. You're like, what do I do about this? Like, how do I do this? And what do I do? And, at the time I didn't have a group like Noble Father either. I didn't have support in that sense. I had friends who had kids, but everybody's journey is so specific and so unique that it's like, you don't. Anyways, I share all this, to say, like, just like to see how far we've come, right? I like to pull up old photos, and just like look back on, this life, the journey of my son. What was I like, 10 years ago? And like, I can't even say that I recognize the person, right? I just felt like I was just a young kid, almost like a young kid, just didn't. But then, interesting, because this morning we were eating breakfast, and my daughter asked a question of my wife, what's it like to have kids? And it's funny because, kids ask the darndest things, right? They say the darndest things. And so I got an opportunity to tell my kids, being a parent is probably one of the most selfless things that you could do, right? There's nothing more selfless than that, right? And then I got on my high horse and I, said things like, what's the standard, normal response right now to having kids? Most don't have them. Most want to go on vacation or do this and that, and and then they get too old and they have the kids, and their kids are all young, but they're old. And I just, how fired up I get about that, and my wife doesn't like it. She's probably within earshot hearing this right now. But like, it just, it's the most selfless thing you could do. It's the simplest way to put it. Most selfless thing you could do, right? You're not living for yourself anymore. Like, man, lucky mom and dad didn't, that you guys are still alive after, 7-10 years on this planet, right? It requires you to go above and beyond your comfort, right? You want to sleep in? Sorry. You want to, you got a career aspiration? Well, it's going to be slower than you thought, And this isn't a limited mindset speaking, right? This isn't a closed mind person speaking. Yeah, can you build the career you want? Absolutely. But then there's going to be sacrifices that have to be made. So when I look back on the journey, right, I'm scrolling through my photos with my kid, just like those early days. My wife, her family, asked that she would go through kind of this, what we call in Chinese, it's like, should be 42 days of rest, like mandated rest. And it was hard. It was hard for me. I don't know why. I just I got so up in arms about it. And I'll go to explain it. And this is why I get fired up about it, right? So Yuds is this thing where mothers are once they deliver a baby, they're, bedridden, provided for. Every need is provided for. They're not to take a shower. They're not to cleanse themselves after the delivery because, cold water, anything cold water to the mother would, be detrimental to health and there's valid points to that, right? And rest is a good thing. I don't know how many mothers out there probably wish that they had a 42-day, mandated vacation holiday thing that they can rest and, but stay in bed and be ridden to bed and not get out and not exert any energy and just focus on breastfeeding and recovering. Man, that was hard for me. I just didn't understand it, I guess. Scientifically, I was just like, oh, what's your research? I want to hear what your justification is for this. I felt like I was mandated house arrest, and I just kicked back and just pushed back against it. And we only lasted 30 days. We compromised or they compromised and said, on the 30th day, we're just no, we're done with this. I don't, my main thing was always well, look at my mom. My mom's Asian. She never did that. She had 4 kids. Never did any of this thing. And look at her. That automatically shoots down your research, I guess, And I'm just not a good person whenever it comes to what I believe in. And when other people, push back against it. But you just, that just speaks to who I am as a person, right? I was so hard-headed and I was so pig-headed. Just, there's a lot of things about that journey that I look back on. I'm man, learned a lot, right? Like I said earlier, Zima on the face, man, we thought that was going to be a forever thing on him. And his face would weep and it would crack and it would just get worse and worse. And you just eat yourself inside out. You're just man, I don't want this for my kid. I see him suffering and I don't want him to suffer. You want, to do everything in your power to take away the suffering. And there's nothing you could do, right? Yeah, you can put ointments and you can lotion and everything and it's still not good enough. You're just not meant to, that's just not meant to be your walk. And so, man, that journey, if not for my faith in God, trusting in him, and even at the time when I look at myself, I was a very immature Christian, a very immature Christian man. But God meets us where we're at. God knew we were going to be parents and give us enough grace for it. So, and now looking at my son, 10 years old, and some of the things he says and some of the things he does and just the relationships that he keeps and his desire to want to grow in Christ, and just so proud, there's nothing to say but be proud of my son, right? 10 years old. And you look forward to, what the rest of his life is going to be, right? When we say 18 summers, he's got 8 more years, right? 8 more years now Not that he's going to leave at 18. We are an Asian family, and typically Asian kids don't leave their families until much later, but like it could be 18 summers. When we're on that topic of not promised tomorrow, right? Always go to that. Always go to not promised tomorrow. It's just it's like this ever-present thought that just keeps recurring in my mind. I try to preach this to my kids. I try to tell them these things, It was interesting. I had a thought the other day. It was not anything super profound, but I don't know, it just hit me different. When we say we're not promised tomorrow, our kids are also not promised tomorrow. Right? They're also not promised tomorrow. So at any point, they could also vacate or depart from this world, or something debilitates them and they're not able to do certain things. Case in point, 2 members in our church community, they have daughters. One got in a car accident, and the other one just a sudden onset of disease, and just suddenly couldn't walk anymore. Motor functions were lost, and breaking out in the skin of a certain disease and illness. And like, then your life is just completely uprooted. You don't want to go out because you don't want people to see your skin the way that it is. You can't even walk. And so you're bound to a wheelchair. Like, what hope for life do you have? Like, why would you even go out into public at that point? And like, just the thought of like, you're not promised tomorrow doesn't only just occur to us. It also, applies to our kids. They're not promised tomorrow either. And that just scares me. That just hurts. I saw a post just now of one of our friends whose kid committed suicide, and he would have been 21 today. Like, how do you make sense of that? Like, how do you make sense of that kind of loss, or that kind of departure of a person that you, like, I'm just thinking of my kid. If my kid, departed, right, left early, where would my heart go? What would my faith look like? What would that journey look like? What kind of person would I become? We have these people in our community too, right? One of the members, police officer, right, and lost his son, right? What do you do? How do you reconcile that? I can't reconcile that, right? The flood, a few weeks ago, right? Was it 27 little girls, right? At a girls' camp. Floodwaters came and took out the whole cabin, and majority of the little girls all passed away. How do you make sense of that? Aren't they supposed to be having fun at this summer camp? And now these families are reeling because they've lost their little girls. Those girls were my daughter's age, 7 years of age. Perfectly healthy little girls with wonderful dreams and aspirations, and friends and family who were doting on them and looking forward to their lives, seeing the fullness of their life gone. Like, I can't fathom what that is like. So what does this tell you? What does this remind you? This should tell you that we're not promised tomorrow. I may not get another 10 years with my son, right? I may not get another 7 years with my daughter. So today is today. Gotta enjoy it. I had this moment where I was watching this video, and it gave me kind of this perspective. So many people expect that they have a whole lifetime to live. Well, you don't have that. You don't even have next year. You don't even have next week. You don't have tomorrow. You don't have later. You only have now. You only have now. There's nothing else. Can't expect I'm going to do it later, or I'm going to get a year from now to do it, right? What does the Bible say about that, right? Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow's got enough troubles of its own, right? Like, many are the plans of a man's heart, and yet God determines his steps, right? God determines how those unfold. And, I harp on being present all the time, being intentional with the time that we're given, not promised tomorrow. And I guess that's it again. This is it again. I am harping on that again for you. So wherever you are in your walk as a father or as a mother, just know that you're not promised tomorrow, and your kids are also not promised tomorrow. And so if you were to depart now, what would be the legacy that you leave behind for these kids? And would they be civilized in the world? What would they do? Right? We talk about this giant thing going around now with the Coldplay stuff, right? With the couple that got caught in kiss cam cheating on their spouses together at a concert. And they just overblown now. The CEO has to resign, and I'm pretty sure that the HR person also has to resign, and it's going to be divorce battles and custody battles down the pipeline. You just think about that little action has destroyed 2 families, and these kids that are in their lives are now like set back, right? Now they're part of a broken home, broken family, right? Many probably think in our world, the twisted, tainted worldview that people have is, it would have been better if they didn't get caught, discovered, right? So they keep living this fallacy, this joke. And so these kids wouldn't have to undergo any kind of, anything like this. But those things are meant to be found out, right? Search yourself. Yeah, I'd say just search yourself. What is it you have to work on, right? Because everything will be found out. And when you do find out, somebody's going to pay the consequences. Somebody's going to pay the price. That's all I really want to share today. There are other thoughts, but I like to keep these short. As for the podcast and where the direction you're heading, I'm probably going to do less of these, not on a weekly basis. I'm going to do less of them. Do want to get guests on eventually, but there's just, with some of the stuff that I've been dealing with, really want to take my time, enjoy the summer, and just really slow down and really seek God on what's the direction of this podcast. If you're listening to this for the first time and you're looking for a community of fathers who are intentional and serious about growth and development, everything I've talked about today is something we talk about on the meetups all the time, is that we just hold space for dads. Dads need a space to be themselves, drop the mask, and to find other guys who just understand them. And that's what Noble Father is. It's a membership community. And so for a small monthly investment, you're getting access to a Discord server, you're getting access to facilitated meetups, you're getting access to accountability workshops. We are all about growing as fathers and, doing retreats together every year. We're planning the next year's right now. And so if you're looking to get in with other dads, hey, join us. We'd love to have you. Take advantage of a 30-day trial. And you can see what we're all about, access the servers, meet the guys. And if it's not for you, hey, that's okay. It's no water off my back. And I'd love to send you towards other places that may be what you're looking for. But this is how we're choosing to do social media and to, work with fathers. And so I'd love to connect with you if you're interested in that. I really appreciate you spending the time with me today, hearing my thoughts and listening this far. And please, share this with other guys. Share this with other fathers that you know. Maybe they need a reminder of how present we are to be, and how we're not promised tomorrow, how nobody's promised tomorrow, and so we should live presently. And so, thank you for joining me. Remember, we're not promised tomorrow, so be present and stay noble. Bye for now.